Welcome to My Turn Podcast, a games podcast hosted by extra competitive siblings. My name's Jem and I'm joined by my littlest, loveliest, sweetest, most wonderful sibling. Only joking, the biggest idiot.
Fuck
Erim.
you! Oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, this is like the nicest thing, especially following my birthday. You know, I thought it was just a nice little, just appreciation kind of thing. But no, you're just a dick, aren't you?
But yes, big sister privileges is I can be an idiot to you. By the way, Erim, I've still got your birthday present. I'm very sorry. I've been ill, not been able to drop it to you. Here it is.
So
I'm showing Erim
wow.
on the
She has a little
Zoom
present.
call.
She has a little present and a little card, and the card says Nugget on it. Do I have to open it virtually?
Sure, you can do, because you know what it is.
All right, how do I do it? Do I just like scratch the screen to unwrap
Yeah,
it?
maybe don't scratch your... Oh, that's horrible. I was just going to say, don't scratch your mic. Make
Why?
wrapping paper unwrapping noises. Go.
I haven't. Oh shit!
With your
I
mouth.
don't have a lot. Is that what it sounds like? I don't know. I'm not the guy from fucking Police Academy. I can't do sound effects in my voice.
Oh my God. Okay, well, I mean, let's leave it to the listeners' imaginations when you finally get your present and you unwrap it. Let's skip
Insert
forward.
wrapping paper thoughts here. Okay.
Let's
all right,
skip
cool.
forward to what you're getting in your present, because it is indeed relevant to today's podcast, which is gonna, yeah,
Oh wow.
it's gonna feature games that
Okay.
contain members of the undead. That's our theme for today.
Oh,
do you know what
how
it is?
Exciting. No, I have absolutely no idea. I definitely asked you to surprise me this year, so.
You didn't. You told me what to get you.
No, she's lying. She's full of hate and deceit.
All right. Well, let's
Well,
move on
actually-
and talk about our games featuring
Yes.
undead things, sometimes called zombies.
So we touched on this, didn't we, when we were talking about the anticipated games of 2022? I think it was one of the things that I mentioned.
Yeah.
And also in our end of year roundup as well, we were talking about it. No, it wasn't the end of year roundup, was it? It was the horror game special one.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Around about Halloween 2021, we did a horror or Halloween games special.
That's
And
it.
Erin mentioned very briefly the game he's going to talk about today then. But today we're going to hear about it in more detail. What is the game?
The game is called Dying Light.
Aha! Relevant because the sequel has just come out.
I know, and that might be my Christmas present.
Birthday.
Oh, yeah. I forget things.
We're both
been
a bit
busy
shaky
touring.
today. Yeah, I was going to say, listeners, we're both a bit shaky today. I've been ill all week, and Erim's been touring like the true rock star that he is with his wonderful band, Salvation Jane.
Yeah, nice plug there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's quite all right. You are my little brother. I do love you, despite that intro. I do love you.
Oh,
I know.
my heart
I'm
is
a good big
melting.
sister.
I know, you're all right sometimes.
Do you want to know what game I'm going to be talking about today, Erin?
Not particularly, but I think the audience do, so just tell us.
I am going to be reviewing Resident Evil 7 : Biohazard.
Biohazard. Is
Yeah.
that like, has he got the shits or something?
I mean, kinda. We'll get into that.
Okay.
Yes. So this is a gaming podcast, despite our meandering introduction. And what we like to do is we like to give you some good old recommendations, some no frills reviews. Tell you, in fact, exactly what we think of the games we've been playing. And as always, we like to dip back and forth into the archives, so we won't always be reviewing the most recent games. Often we're not. But we like to go back and look at games that we should have played or games that we know that you love. So, Erin, why don't you kick us off with your game? Tell us about Dying Light in a nutshell, and if possible, what kind of nut would that nutshell be?
I don't have as much knowledge of nuts as you do, but okay, so the one I was thinking of while I was driving my car, obviously thinking about nuts and games, what's the one that looks like a brain? Is that a Brazil nut?
A walnut.
A walnut. Walnut, yeah, walnut, because, you know, zombies are like mindless people who like brains.
Yeah,
well
done.
Nut knowledge. Yeah, so Dying Light is a survival horror video game, played from a first-person perspective. It's set in an open world with a lot of emphasis on parkour-style gameplay.
Very nice nutshell. Liked it. Tasty.
Thank you very much. Yum.
So tell us about what kind of... So you've said it's a first-person open world.
Yeah.
What were your sort of expectations going into this then?
Do you know what? I really wasn't too sure. So I think this is one of the... early games that I got with my PlayStation. I should actually say that it was actually out in 2015. Obviously developed by Techland, publishers were Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment Studios. So it was actually quite an early game that I got. So I don't think I'd played many games on the PlayStation. I got it quite late on, I think. It had been out for a few years. I'm not someone who rushes out to get games consoles. So I was actually initially blown away by a few other games that I played, which actually there's quite a lot of comparison between them.
Okay.
So one of them was Far Cry 4.
Right.
Was one of the first games I got, and also Shadow of Mordor. And really weirdly, you could kind of combine those two games to actually create something a bit like this. Obviously replacing maybe orcs with zombies.
Yeah.
But it's that similar kind of open world. You start off, you're a bit useless. Getting around's a bit of a mission, but as you play through, you're able to like unlock more and more abilities on the tech tree, and you just become a bit more significant and like substantial in the way that you can play and deal with different threats. But as the game opens up, the threats get bigger. You get introduced to different types of enemies. I
love that you gradually become more significant.
Well, honestly, you start off, you're just a bit useless.
Bit crap.
Yeah, basically. You're
a bit of a wet tea towel.
You do get that sense of being completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of enemies that there are in this world. And obviously where you've not really discovered it, it is a bit... It captures that kind of, oh shit, I don't know where I am. I'm not very good at what I'm doing. Yeah. I need to learn fast, otherwise, I'm going to get fucked in the ass big time.
Oh, are they sodomizing these zombies?
Yeah, well, they will sneak up behind you and do very naughty things.
Watch out! Make sure you're pre-lubes, everyone.
Damn,
this is not
zombies.
a family-friendly podcast. It's okay. There's an explicit rating on it. It's fine. We can say what we like. You've touched on it a bit. What is the story you're presented with at the start? Like, what kind of takes you into the game?
See, you're actually airdropped into this fictional Middle Eastern city called Haran. Ooh. Where this viral outbreak, which is like a typical setup for a zombie thing, has turned the most of the population into like really aggressive zombies. Parts of the city are quarantined. You're actually on a mission to kind of like stop this. I don't know how to describe him, but I guess the villain, this guy called Reese, who I think he's captured some sort of sensitive government information. Your job is to essentially stop him from releasing that to the world. But yeah, you kind of get airdropped into the middle of the city. The first thing that happens is you actually get discovered by some of his men, I think they are. They're some sort of evil guys who are basically there to like, beat you up. But you get rescued by another group of survivors that are based in the tower, who I guess would be the good guys who are just trying to survive, whereas Rice is the bad guy. He's trying to obviously use that sensitive government information in ways that aren't good, and he's also just a bit of he's just a villain to the whole city, really. He's very
so
naughty,
are there like different
man.
Factions in the game?
There's two main factions, so there's Reese's faction, and then your survivor faction. I don't remember any other particular factions of note. There's neutral people and survivors. But no, basically, he's bad. You're with the good guys.
Okay. Got it.
That kind. Don't I think with this in particular, story isn't the big point of this game.
Okay, that's good to note at the top there. Just a quick question before we move into some of your favourite things about this game. What you said, it's sort of set in a fictional Middle Eastern country.
Yeah,
but like, are you from that place, or are you sort of shipped in?
You're an American government agent.
Oh,
actually.
of course, right?
Yeah, you know, America World Police.
Yeah,
You're a guy
World
called
Police.
Kyle
There
Crane.
we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not sure what the involvement with the American government is or how they've got into this Middle Eastern city, but yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, I just wondered. I thought that would be the case, but it's worth asking. All right. So, what were your before we go into your positives? What was the kind of gameplay like? So you said it's an open world.
Yeah, open world zombie parkour.
And there's parkour. Like, what?
Yeah.
Is that? How does that work?
So
what are the
obviously,
mechanics?
like I said at the beginning, where you're not really a very substantial fighter, you know, being able to climb up on top of ledges to get away from zombies is a big deal. And kind of tying into the title a little bit, this game has a really good kind of like 2 day cycle. I don't know how to describe it. There's two, day-night cycle. That's it.
Yeah,
Very good. Day-night cycle in which
technical term for where different things happen at different times of day.
Yes. So yeah, during the day you have like the typical kind of mindless, slow zombies. You do get a couple of extra. Yeah, exactly. That kind of like easy to get away from. As you get stronger, easier to kill. But in the night, there's like another threat. These like really corrupted zombies that are like just horrendous. They're not slow, they're quick, and they're demonic. I'm sure they're called volatiles. Basically, as soon as it becomes night, it's like nightmare mode. You'll be chased as soon as they find you, and they will not stop. So the parkour element really comes into play. At that time to like escape from things, and you have to escape to these places called safe zones, where it's like kind of like an ultra violet light or some sort of like artificial sunlight that helps ward them off. Yeah.
Okay.
So what else was I going
to
say?
so I was just asking about the actual gameplay mechanics. So yeah, all right. Well, let's move into the things that you enjoyed most about this game.
I liked that there is like a few genres at play here, really. There is an open world dynamic to it. Also the RPG kind of leveling up, which would be typical. But obviously the parkour element of it as well was, I think, really well implemented, so you don't have to do everything just by brute force. You can actually be a bit more like agile and escape. There's also elements of stealth in it, especially in the night. If you're not seen by the volatiles, you can actually sneak around. And there might be great rewards in missions that you have to do in the dark, basically. So there's a lot of dynamic in the play in the world and how it's done. And then, like the tech tree and things like that, the way you level up is just really satisfying. The powers that you get and the way you're able to deal with zombies better and better as you go along. Just keeps the game really exciting. And like I said, you start off just like you're rubbish at killing zombies. But by the end of it, you can like flip over them, like just take out whole armies of them. So it gets like quite an exciting... if you just want to run around and kill stuff, you can. And it's quite fun to do. Yeah, it's quite rewarding in that sense.
Okay.
So I think the main thing for me would be the dynamic gameplay, how it just evolves, and there's so many different aspects in there. That's definitely the big positive for me.
Okay, and you sort of said there's an RPG element, so can you decide which skills you want to upgrade, like go different routes, like upgrade stealth or upgrade agility or...
Yeah, I think it's not the typical special... Is it special? Speed, power... I can't remember what the other ones are. But it's not those typical kind of traits. But yeah, it's something similar to that. You can either become more agile to... be better at parkour. You can become stronger to help you do different abilities. It's a similar kind of thing to the typical RPG.
But within its own context.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Sounds fun. Is there anything else that you love about this game before we move on to...
I remember the settings just really, really cool, actually. I really like the open worldness. I'm probably looking back at it retrospectively. It might not be as amazing graphically as obviously some of the games coming out now, but like I think it would still definitely hold up.
What year was it again, sorry?
It was 2015, so I mean,
Okay,
it has been a fair bit of
old.
time, 7 years, yeah. Which, I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't feel like a long time, but yeah, obviously 7 years is quite a substantial amount of time, and games have developed substantially in that time period. But yeah, it was just quite a stunning game as well. Particularly, really weirdly, the way it was lit with the sun. I particularly remember that, like, you really got that sense of that dusk kind of element with like light streams and the golden hour. Everything just felt like there was a bit of like, what's the word? A bit of tension, I guess, when the light came to that kind of time of day.
Well, of course, because as it goes down, you've got to go and find cover, right?
Yeah. So
and as it comes up, it's ta-da! You made it through the night.
Exactly. But I think. I have a feeling they paid like a special attention to detail when it came to that, because they really, like, you're just so aware of it without them being like, oh my God, you better get somewhere safe. Just the way they do it through lighting, I think is really cool.
Well, in a game called Dying Light, you kind of better hope that they take care of the light. Tell me about anything that was less good or slightly more annoying.
I don't really remember anything being that bad.
That's fine.
Didn't notice anything too buggy. The gameplay was interesting enough to carry on through. I guess the story's not anything too amazing, but I don't think it needs to be. I don't think that's the focus of this game. Obviously, you know, if you're able to tick the boxes in every single aspect of a game, then you've got an amazing 10 out of 10 game. But yeah, I think they realised that the story doesn't need to be quite as polished as the other areas, because the gameplay is just so good. So there's not really any negatives, maybe just a bit less emphasis on the story,
Can I ask about side missions? Because as an open world game, I mean, the sort of quality of side missions is something that is key to keeping you interested and to go and explore parts of an ever-increasing map. What are they like? Are they varied enough? Yeah,
they are. And I think it's everything from just like, oh, I need a few items, that kind of like go and collect kind of mission.
Quest.
Fetch quest, there you go. All the way to something that has a bit more of a story to it. Now, I can't particularly remember any particular side quest. It's been a long, long time since I've played this game.
That is the thing with one open world games and two putting any time between one open world game and another one that you played after it. You just forget most of the side missions. Which is why things like Witcher 3, which I know is like your favourite game, that's why that is so amazing as an open world experience, because the side missions are so memorable. Like, you will never forget the Bloody Baron. You will never forget.
Oh, I love the
Witch
Bloody
in the
Baron
Woods.
quest.
Like, there's so many things that you would never forget, and like that's why I'm asking about side missions. Like,
it's definitely not done as well as what's the company that does The Witcher? Red.
CD Projekt Red.
CD Projekt Red. That's it. Yeah. I think. Like, it's nowhere near as polished as their side missions, which just all seem to be crafted with amazing care. Some of these are just like added, so you know there's a bit of substance to get an extra weapon or a skill or whatever. But it wasn't bad. I don't remember the side quests being bad, and I remember a few of them being quite interesting and fun to do. Like, it didn't feel like a chore for no reason. And I guess because of the way the world is as well, it just added to how enjoyable the side quests were. They were done well enough.
Yeah, that's good, because I'm assuming it's quite a big game. I know the new one they famously said that Dying Light 2 is 500 hours of gameplay.
Oh my god! How? What? Why? As in, like, if you're complete.
No.
Like,
If you're mainlining it, so if you're just doing the main campaign, it's not. No, it's definitely not that long. But I think what they've said is they've designed it with the ability to get 500 hours out of it.
Jesus.
So it's huge. Yeah, the new one's absolutely
that might
massive.
just be getting a bit excessive, though, mightn't it?
I mean, you've seen the last two Assassin's Creed games, like.
Yeah.
Games are getting huge.
I wonder if it is becoming a bit of a problem, actually, to have them so big.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess some people must absolutely love it, but like, wow, that is some hardcore gaming. I guess if you
only buy like 2 games a year or 1 game a year, like, you're really getting your money's worth.
Yeah, true.
Like, not everyone's like us, Erim. We're like, new game, new game, new game.
We like a sharing platter when we have our starters.
We like a
very honest.
Smorgasbord of games.
Yes, exactly.
Bit of this, bit of that, Yes, lovely. All right. So is there anything else of note, anything that you want to tell us about this game? Bearing in mind, like, people might be like, is it worth playing the first one to then play the second one? Like, any thoughts?
Well, obviously, without playing the second one, I don't know whether the storyline really continues into it. But I mean, I guess if you want a cheaper entry into zombie parkour, if you've not played it and you're a bit unsure, maybe this is a good, cheaper way to actually make a decision whether you want to play Dying Light 2 and not spend whatever it's going to be, like 60 quid.
Yeah, it's about 60 quid.
I think it's worth it. I think it's a really, really fun game. I'd happily play it again if I had the time.
Yeah.
It's
so was there anything else of note about the game that you hadn't mentioned?
Not that I hadn't mentioned, but again, I just want to say, like, the game is just really dynamic like I said, in the way that it plays, and there's like a mix of different genres in there. At the time, I just remember being really, really hooked on it, really.
Okay.
It was the case I just kept going back to it every night, every other night, playing an hour or so before bed. It was just really enjoyable and easy to pick up and just kill some zombies, I guess.
Yeah. Well, before we round up this review, I want you to tell me a bit more about the zombies, because I also have undead in the game that I'm going to review.
All right.
So apart from fast and slow zombies, is there any interesting characteristics or any new sort of law or behaviour that they bring in for these zombies, or are they just generic zombies?
I can't remember all the lore behind them. The main thing I know is that it's a virus outbreak and it's affected, obviously, normal people, but they're not all made equal. Like I said, you've got the typical slow ones. You've got the horrible, evil nightmare parkour zombies called the... oh my God, I've forgotten their name. What did I call them? Were you paying attention, listeners?
Was, and then forgot what
Volatiles.
It was. Volatiles, that's it, yeah.
And then I think there's another one called, I want to say grunts or brutes or something like that, which are like steroid zombies, basically.
Oh, like big sort of hulking guys.
Yeah, basically, it's like, you get all the
that would
Jim Bro
usually
zombies.
be a brute, wouldn't it, in terms of the...
I think so, yeah.
Characteristic.
Yeah, they're like, they've literally just like finished their last steroid injection before they turn, and they're just like very angry, roid rage zombies who are just like horrendous to kill. Occasionally wielding some horrible, like, massive weapon.
Oh my God, the zombies have weapons.
These guys do. They are not pleasant. Like
they're not just huge. Trying to bite you. They're also
no. These guys will actually these guys will attack you, like, with other weapons as well. So I think they're the 3 main types. There is another one, which is another type of volatile that only exists in the nighttime, but it's a bit more. I can't remember what it is they do. They're not really around so much. I think they might be only available for certain missions. But there was another type. But yeah, they're the 3 main types that you will come across. Obviously, the 2 in the day, the slow ones, the strong ones. Yeah. And then the volatiles at night, who are just
fairly
horrible.
Standard in the spectrum of, like, what
but you've got to remember as well, like I said, you're dealing with Rice's... like bandit people as well.
So there's
you have got that human element
as well. I forgot that. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got multiple threats that you have to deal with. It's not just one thing.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I completely forgot about the factions. Right, okay, so then there is several enemy types and several threats that you're managing through the exploration. Great, sounds fab. So who would you recommend this game to?
I think anyone who wants to play a zombie game with a bit of a difference, to be honest, because it's not overly generic. It has got that really gorgeous open world as well. I think it would definitely appeal to like just typical open world game players who like that RPG element. So if you've enjoyed things like Far Cry, and if you've enjoyed Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War,
but this doesn't have a nemesis system, does it?
No, it doesn't. No. But as you level up, the zombies get worse and worse.
Right.
But it's more the parkour / skill tree kind of thing. Got you. Shadow of Mordor, like climbing up.
Yeah, because traversal got really fun in Shadow of Mordor, didn't it?
Yeah. It's a similar kind of thing. You're just able to jump through, around the city. Which I didn't even mention. There's no fast travel in this game.
Oh.
No fast travel. So the parkour element is really, really important to help you traverse really quickly as well. It doesn't feel like such a ball ache, for want of a better term.
It really hurts my balls using the fast travel. Oh my God. Is it something to do with teleportation? Oh, right.
Huh?
Not...
Yeah. Because you can't fast travel. Because you imagine you have to walk around the whole city to get from mission to mission. You'd be like, oh my God, this will take ages. Whereas you can just kind of like fly over buildings with your parkour. So it's not a ball ache.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing about balls again.
Oh, God.
In our last episode, we just got completely sidetracked with laughing at balls.
No, you did.
I did. Go back and listen to it. Terrible. It's great. Fun times. Okay, so last thing on the recommendation, someone like me who traditionally doesn't enjoy zombies in video games, is it scary? Like, would you say this is, although it's not marketed as a horror game, would you say that?
It can be. It is in places, especially at night, is dreadful. Like, it's so scary.
Okay.
It is,
I don't want to play it then.
It's not all completely like that. And I think for the majority of it, you can play it just in daylight. Which isn't too scary, you can see everything. Okay. I don't think the zombies are particularly scary, but just when it becomes nighttime and it is like nightmare mode, it will make you be like, ah. And if you're someone who like really doesn't like being chased,
I hate it.
Having some tense music behind you, then nighttime is best to avoid. But this is what this game does well. You've got that dynamic world where you can just pretty much avoid it, other than maybe 1 or 2 missions where you absolutely must go through it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you should give it a go, to be honest.
I'd like to have a go of the new one. I've heard it's good fun. So, all right. This brings us neatly onto our rating. What would you give this game out of 10, Erim?
I think it's an 8 out of 10.
Okay, lovely.
I think, really, really solid. Really, really enjoyed it. Would happily play it again. Cannot wait to play Dying Light 2, to be honest, because if it's anything like I remember this first one, I'm going to absolutely love it. Hopefully I can finish this one if there's 500 hours of gameplay.
No, the main line isn't that. It's not that. It's just whether you get sidetracked with all the millions of side quests that they've obviously chucked in there.
Well, I do have ADHD, so I will probably end up, I don't know, running around just killing stuff and realising that I've accomplished nothing in the past 4 hours.
Oh, well, it sounds like you had a lot of fun with that, Erim. And if you're an open world fan and you don't mind zombies too much, I guess check it out.
Brilliant. Okay, now we're over to you. So, Yay! Resident Evil 7.
7.
What was it?
Colon Biohazard.
Colon Biohazard. So what does it have to do with a colon then, Jem?
Oh, no, it's just a punctuation.
Oh.
You know the 2 dots Erim?
Oh, fucking hell, sorry. I understand now.
I mean, the fact that it's got this like biohazard written on it, confused me initially. But yeah, sure. So,
in a nutshell, go on.
I'll nutshell it. I'm also going to do the brain nut, which is walnut, because...
You just nicked my one. You don't know enough about nuts, clearly.
All right, okay. No, let me stretch myself. Is it apple seeds that contain, like, arsenic? I'm going to say yes.
I think it's cyanide, isn't it?
Oh.
Arsenic is the stuff you get from rice, is it, if you leave it out too long or something? And that's why it's so bad?
Apple seeds.
I think. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's cyanide, though.
Poison. What poison is it? Cyanide. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, cyanide. Oh, for God's sake. Yes.
I know my poison.
Dr. Google backs up your assertion. All right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right. I'm wrong. That's fine. Anyway, I'll stick it in an apple seed then because of poisony things.
Does that count as a nut?
No, but, some nuts are kind of seeds.
Maybe we kind of might need to branch out into nuts and seeds.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Let's do that.
I don't know enough nuts.
Yeah.
And we've already done some legumes, I'm sure.
Yeah, some are legumes, right?
Exactly.
It's so confusing. And isn't an almond a seed? Like, it's confusing.
Oh, God.
I know. It's too much.
Yeah,
so let's go with an apple seed.
Yeah, okay.
So,
apple seed.
Here we go. In the apple seed, here we go. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is a 2017 survival horror game developed and published by Capcom. So this game was released on 24th of January 2017. It's a single-player video game, first person, where you control a man called Ethan Winters as he searches for his long-missing wife in a derelict plantation occupied by an infected family. You'll be solving puzzles and fighting enemies.
Oh,
and surviving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my nutshell.
Well, tell us about this infected family. What does that mean? Is it like my game where they have a virus?
Well, I mean, so this actually, I have not played any Resident Evil games properly apart from Resident Evil Village. So going into this, I was like, I don't know. I just knew that it was the same character from Resident Evil Village, but this happens before Resident Evil Village. So this is Ethan before the events of Resident Evil Village, so I was familiar with the character of Ethan. But basically, you get dropped into Ethan's life right at the top, and he receives an email from his missing wife. I think she'd been missing for like 2 years. And that leads him to this location, this sort of swamp-based derelict plantation. And it's kind of like a big mansion and a crookedy old guest house and a bunch of trailers. And it's sort of a swampy area of the US. Okay. And when you start searching that space is when you discover things are not what they seem. And not a spoiler because it happens right at the top of the game, but you encounter your wife. And she's definitely got something wrong with her because she basically goes to and from being a zombie. So in your first sort of tutorial-y area, like the beginning of the game, you encounter her and she's kind of like a zombie and then she's not and then she is and you don't know what's going on. So you're kind of like fighting your wife and then next thing you know, you've kind of been held prisoner by the Baker family. So your main protagonists in this game are the Baker family, and they are presented as this kind of southern country living, rednecky American family. And if you imagine, have you ever seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I have quite a long time ago, but yes, go on.
So like Leatherface's family eating humans, like in a really disgusting, dilapidated house. That's kind of a bit the vibe you get from this family. Everything's putrid. The house has been falling into disrepair. They there's clearly some kind of cannibalism going on and weird experiments on people that they've captured. People in the local area have been going missing. So this is right at the top of the game again. So no massive story spoilers, but you're basically held hostage in this house, and you, as the game progresses, you are figuring out what is going on with this family and why are they sort of superhuman, and what is going on with your wife, like where is she, what is she, what's going on.
Okay. And Ethan himself, he's not superhuman. He doesn't have any special powers, does he? Or is there something about his hands?
Oh, Ethan's hands, don't get me started. All right, massive caveat, because I've already played Resident Evil Village, and had I played them in like the way that they were released, I might have not been as pissed off with Ethan's hands. Ethan is a normal man, to answer your question, right? So he's meant to be a normal bloke.
But just zombie hands.
But somehow his hand can get chopped off, and he can just staple it back on, and then it's fine. And I just can't with his hands. Again, right? Sorry, slight spoiler for Resident Evil Village, and a bit of a spoiler for this, but not really, because there's so many memes of it, and it happens early on in the game. But like, yeah, your hands get wrecked.
I mean, we've already touched on it on a different episode, haven't we?
Yeah,
so, you know.
Yeah, but it is, you know, it's just something that has to happen to your hands that you have to go through. And because it's a first-person game, all you see of yourself is your hands. Yeah. And, like, the whole way through the game, you've just got staples in your wrists. And I just can't. So, yeah, normal guy with superhuman hands. That's what I'll say.
I think they've got to, in the next Resident Evil, just make it about his hands and explain that bit of the story, because that is a mystery that needs to be solved.
It needs to be solved. And in the mountains and mountains of lore that you get in any Resident Evil game that you can delve into if you want to, Ethan's magical hands aren't quite covered.
All right, so let's talk about your expectations coming into this, because obviously you're not someone who plays zombie games that much. But obviously Resident Evil 8, the 8 was the Village.
8 was the Village, yeah.
Yeah, so it sounded like you really enjoyed that. So what were your expectations?
And what happened with Village is that I got over my fear of fighting zombies in a game. So, but I still don't like it if it's overwhelming amounts of zombies. And I know I'd prefer it if it was in third person as well. I just find first person zombie fights like a bit, But so I was told that this game, well, first of all, this game's like rated 9 out of 10 on Polygon. It's got like an 8.4 Metacritic review or something. 86 Metascore and a 8.0 user score on Metacritic. On GG Games, which is an app I use quite a lot, it's got like 4.2 out of 5. So it's a really highly rated game. And when it came out, fans of the franchise and new players to the franchise were saying it was like breaking the mold, doing new things. I think it's the first person that they had in the Resident Evil series. It used to be. I don't know if you remember the old games, because I played Resident Evil 1, but like so long ago. I think I played
the first two, a long time ago.
Yeah, and obviously
our cousin's house.
They had survival horror roots, but it was third person. But yeah, so there was a lot of hype about this game, and it came out in 2017, which is like arguably one of the best years of games in modern times. So it's the same year that like Breath of the Wild came out and stuff. So this was on all the Game of the Year lists and things. So I'd heard that it was really good. I'd heard that it was quite puzzly, that it was true survival horror, which implies like scarcity of resources, having to use your environment to help you, things like that, which I do quite like. And I just played Alan Wake again, and I bloody love Alan Wake. I'll do an episode on that later. I've just done one with Horror Hangout podcast, so shout out to them. Hi, Horror Hangout podcast.
Hi, Horror Hangout.
you listen to this podcast and you like horror, check them out, and also check out my review of Alan Wake with them. It's really good fun. So Alan Wake put me in the mood to get into more sort of survival horror games, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to do it. So my expectation for this was really high. Sorry, that was a really long-winded answer.
No, it's totally fine. No, I want to hear it. That's good. It's better than just being like, I was expecting to be scared. Like, thanks for the detail. It's nice to hear someone.
That's quite all right, bro.
With a bit more story.
Thanks.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, type of game, you've kind of touched on it.
Yeah,
really,
first-person survival horror. I would say that playing the game, there is a lot more action than some survival horror games. It's a Resident Evil game. It ends, there's a lot of shooting at the end, which is just
is it
my
a bit
experience
like,
with 8 as well.
Yeah. I mean, how useful are the weapons in the game? Is it more about surviving and this is like a last-ditch weapon, or is it actually quite
they're essential.
beneficial?
The weapons are essential. Yeah. There are things you can't do unless you're using weapons. Sometimes you get given a weapon. Like, there is one boss fight against one of the bakers where you get given a chainsaw, basically, and it's kind of like a little mini arena. You're sort of in a garage shed, not a garage. It's like a big tin shed thing. And you get given a chainsaw and you pretty much have to use it because the weapons you've got, obviously the ammo is really scarce in this game, which is one of the things I liked about it, which I'll talk more about. But yeah, you run out of bullets really quickly. You run out of bullets all the time. But the chainsaw, you have to use. And then there's other parts of the game where you get given other weapons and you're like, well, I'm going to have to use that. So the game kind of hints quite heavily at what you need to use, but you can't hide from most of the enemies. There are some enemies you can run past, but because you're dealing with the Baker family, when you're up against them and they kind of become like little mini bosses along the way, you have to confront them. Like, you can't hide. You have to defeat them.
Okay, very nice. So tell us about the positives of this game.
So the thing I really, really enjoyed about this game was the main house. So as I mentioned in the kind of prologue, not even the prologue, like the first section, you're in a kind of guest house. And once you escape that, I feel like that's when the game really gets going and you're in this main house and it's like a big mansion and it's got the remnants of something really grand and opulent. And there's like old family photos and things that show these people as normal people. But the whole thing is rotten and broken. There's crap everywhere. There's rubbish everywhere. There's like slime on all the kitchen surfaces. Ooh. There's like what looks like boiled body parts in the kitchen. Like, it's kind of disgusting. But the actual structure of the mansion, like the main house area, as a location and the fact that you can't get out of it until you solve certain puzzles and collect certain items is really good. And it forces you to explore places that you're scared to go to because there is always a member of the Baker family just kind of stalking around looking for
really?
you. Yeah. So there is a lot of hiding and kind of planning when you're going to nip into a room and then how you're going to get out of it again before they see you. So I really enjoyed that stuff. And there is some puzzling in this section and also in later sections of the game that I enjoyed, but they could have been better. So I'll come on to them in a bit more detail later.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, so obviously the Baker family are mini bosses kind of. How does it work in terms of their threat? Is it any time they catch you, you have to confront them, or is there a particular time in the game where it's like the confrontation with this person is inevitable? You have to defeat them to
really good
progress to
question.
somewhere else.
So this plays out like an action adventure game. So it's very much a linear story, but you have the freedom within the zones that you're in, and as you unlock them, to explore different rooms at any time within that zone. Once you've unlocked that zone, so let's say the house, once you've unlocked the house, then you've got access to the garden, but you can still go back into the house. Does that make sense? But it's a linear level of I need to unlock the house, then the garden, then there's another little house, and there's another little bit. Blah, blah, blah. I won't get into spoilers, but basically the properties are quite vast, but it is a linear sort of unlocking, and each level that you get through or get out of basically involves you beating one of the bakers. So there's various family members, and each of them have monstrous traits which kind of lean into this sort of supernatural theme, and you don't really know what's going on and why they're supernatural. For example, they don't die when you shoot them. So, without massive game spoilers, like, you can kind of kill them and then they come back. So there's there is a sort of supernatural element, which obviously is a Resident Evil game. You expect that, so it's not really a spoiler to say that. But you don't know what that is. So as Ethan, you have no idea that zombies exist, for example, and
despite your hands being magical.
Yeah, right? So you don't understand why these people, A, are behaving the way they're behaving, and 2, why they've got these powers. So part of the gameplay, which also feeds into sort of linear level of exploring the property, is you discovering more about what's going on and why your wife has been involved.
Okay. All right. I mean, it all sounds good, but I mean, you said about the puzzling aspect of it not being so good. So let's talk about that a little bit further, as someone who's obviously like big into
I love puzzles, and I was told that this game is quite heavy on puzzles, and the earlier Resident Evil games have puzzles, and they've got they're reputed to be quite challenging, or like there's an immediate threat if you get it wrong, if you put in the wrong solution for some of the sort of iconic Resident Evil puzzles. This one, I have to say, I love puzzles. I think I'm quite good at them, but even so, they were way too easy. So it was literally like, oh, I need something to unlock a door that's hidden in a wall. And then you'd pick up like a child's picture and it would literally ring the room and the thing in the room that you need to find. It was just too easy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I felt like exploration was only rewarded by gathering resources, and that I liked. I liked that you had to look absolutely everywhere to find herbs which contribute to your health items, to find ammunition, to find psychostimulants which are like heighten your awareness, which means that then you can find more goodies. And then there was occasionally things like little syringes, and you got like what's the drug that bodybuilders take?
Steroids.
I can remember what it's called. Yeah,
steroids or speed.
I think like you there's like 4 available steroid boosts that you can find in the game.
Oh,
so
right.
like you have to really look for these things and really scavenge, and that side of the game really felt survival horror to me, and I really enjoyed that. If you find
the family before they were zombies, they were all bodybuilders, or
no, I mean, look, it's the Resident Evil game.
I know.
The link
I've been
to
silly,
logical reality is maybe not there. Okay, so there's just stuff around. Again, like eating a herb doesn't actually heal your body. Sorry, but
doesn't
you know.
Oh damn.
But yeah, so you can find stuff like that, which basically give you boosts and also like regenerate your health and upgrade. You can find like weapon parts and things like that. So there's not a great deal of upgrading in this game. It's usually, I think there's 1 upgrade per weapon that you find, but there's stuff to find that will help you, especially health and ammunition. Like these things are gold dust in this game, because you do run out of bullets, and when you run out of bullets you're like shit. Because you know, I remember being in the big house and knowing that there was no more ammo in the big house, and I was like, I've got 12 bullets before I need to escape this house, because there is nothing left, because I've been in every single room about 15 times. So stuff like that is good, because it is a real threat to you being able to get through the game. But yeah, the things that didn't work for me as well was, as I said, the puzzles were too easy. And also, my other problem is partly the bakers themselves. The house was amazing. It was creepy, but I just don't really like this idea that this family are like rednecks and that therefore that they're just gross. And I feel like it's a really sort of
bad cliche.
yeah, it's a bad cliche. And the game does make an effort to explain this by the end of the game. But I feel like it's such a cliche and you only really find out the maybe reason behind it at the end of the game. And you spend the whole game with these characters being like, I'm going to get you. You can't hide from me. And you're like, oh, God, really? And it just feels a bit obvious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it jars a little bit.
It jars a little bit. Some of the more creative, ghosty, paranormal stuff that happens in the game with when you do come across certain boss types. Like there's one area of the map that I really enjoyed where one of the family members seems to have this kind of superpower involving, I'm calling it a superpower. It's like, not a superpower, that sounds wrong. Like a paranormal power. Supernatural power. Yeah, that's it. They don't wear a cape, kids. They don't wear a cape. This sort of like older woman character, and she kind of has power over sort of like hornets, like and insects. Ooh. And that whole section is really creepy. And I love the insects because the sound work on it's really good. You're like, like you can hear them coming for you.
Oh yeah, especially with your headphones
with the headphones on. It's
amazing.
Like there's little spiders everywhere, and like that stuff is really cool. But they're just, I'm gonna get you with a chainsaw. Like that stuff to me, it just reads as a type of horror that I don't appreciate because I find it too obvious. Like, and it was so Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I found it quite unoriginal. Like.
It could be a bit like Far Cry 5 as well. It can get quite corny, can't it?
I think we're so exposed to like weird rednecks. And it's not fair to people that actually live in those areas of the US that is the one way that they're portrayed, like lower income people. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's got to that point where I feel like it's an easy way of saying, these people are gross. Like, I didn't love that. So that was a bit of a negative for me. But also, I really didn't understand. Like, there's one boss fight quite early in the game, which is such a weird difficulty spike because it goes from being this survival horror game to, like, it's the bit with the chainsaw that I referenced earlier. And it's just so, like, it's so difficult and it becomes an action game. So I found bits like that. And then there's another bit later in the game where you're on a ship and like you're doing some other stuff, which I won't spoil, but suddenly you need a machine gun. Like, I'll just say that. So it goes from you creeping around a really old, creepy house, which I really enjoyed, like unlocking hidden passageways and finding little clues and solving puzzles and escaping the creepy man to you kind of like in a shoot 'em up.
Yeah. So, I wonder if they were trying to do a similar thing to Dying Light and try and have other gameplay elements in there and other genres kind of intertwined, but maybe the execution was a bit off because, like, in my case, it was great because it made the game more interesting, but in this it sounds like it's just not really appropriate.
I feel like, having spoke to people who are big fans of the Resident Evil franchise, apparently this just is a thing, and like, there's always a bit where you get the main kind of story strand of the Resident Evil lore comes in with certain characters, and you just have to play that bit, and that's just part of the game. But it did. You know, the best bit about the game is the big house and maybe the little house with the bugs. Like, I love that bit.
Yeah.
But there's other bits of the game where I'm like, is this now an action game? Is this a bit torture porn? Like, there's bits where you're like, the kind of aesthetic reminds me of things like, do you ever see Hostel? Like Eli Roth's Hostel? Like that kind of thing of like, what is that? What is this? Like, why is there just chopped up people everywhere and putting people on meat hooks and stuff? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Because then that to me isn't creepy and it isn't adding atmosphere. It's just like gross.
Gross for the sake of being gross.
Yeah. So it like bits like that sort of for me were a bit of a mishmash.
Yeah.
And I love the more horror-y stuff, the stuff that felt like horror.
Yeah. I think horror, like, horror done well is it leaves things to your imagination.
Yeah.
It's your imagination that actually makes things more creepy than being like, oh, look, there's a scary monster. I'll never forget, sorry to break away from this.
No, absolutely.
But one particular film that I remember seeing, Insidious,
Oh, yeah.
I was petrified until Darth Maul was the evil thing. And it was just like, why?
Yeah.
It was
it's funny,
so good
isn't it?
keeping it.
Insidious is great until the end.
Yeah,
I agree.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
you're like, wow, this is a really good horror film. Oh, no, they ruined it.
It's Darth Maul. But yeah, like...
Yeah, I know what you
playing on
mean.
Your
I know what you mean.
Makes horror.
Yeah,
I think,
and credit
really
to this
good.
game. I think the atmosphere in a lot of it is excellent, but there were just things that let it down. Also, the fact that there was so much action at certain points and then the game sort of didn't do it very well. Like, it was very clunky. And there were bits where, for example, my chainsaw and my hand were kind of disappearing into the body of the person I'm fighting. You know, when you're just like, the frames are not textures, are just doing weird things.
When was it released again?
2017.
Oh, so it's all right. It's
yeah,
not
but think
new,
of the other
but you
games that
should
came
be
out
able to
that
get
year.
that. Yeah, I guess that is very, very true.
Yeah. But that
Sorry,
said,
Jen,
they
just
are
one sec.
about to do a. They're about to drop a remastered version of this. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
They're about to drop a remastered version for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. So that probably will fix those weird, like, action glitch weird things that kept happening.
Yeah.
But I do find it frustrating. If something's going to tip into action, then, like, either make the action responsive or give me a dodge button. You cannot dodge in this game.
Oh.
It's a survival horror game without a dodge button. Like, why?
God.
I just don't understand that. That's your first thing that you do is you dodge. You can block, but you can't dodge. Like, why? You can turn around.
I mean, you can
turn around fast,
you have got
but you can't
invincible
dodge.
hands, so, you know, like, I would, like, what's the point of dodging when you can just stick your hand in people's
Well, because
face
if
and be
someone's
like, no?
swinging something really massive at you, you can dodge underneath it,
just
remaneuver,
grab it in
and
this
then
case.
shoot them.
You are the amazing, oh my goodness, what is his name again?
Ethan
Winters and his amazing hands. You can survive anything. But anyway, I think we've spent a good amount of time on negatives. Let's go on to, is there anything particular of note? I mean, you said about the atmosphere that this creates. Is that like your biggest kind of selling point
so
of this?
here's the thing about this game. I kind of expected zombies. There's no zombies. There's no zombies.
Oh, okay.
So what they have instead are these things called the molded, which are kind of like weird black drippy oil slick zombie type things, but they're not really zombies. And that's your other enemy type apart from the bakers, who obviously transform into weird things themselves. But yeah, so there's no zombies, which I think is quite notable. So actually, I was never scared in this game. Because it's the zombies in particular that bother me. And that's why I played Resident Evil Village. Because I was like, well, I know there's some zombies, but there's other magical creatures that I'm like just weirdly not scared of. I think for me, it's like zombies bite you. And that weirds me out. Like, because they kind of look like people and then they're kind of, their flesh is coming off their face and then they like bite you and I don't like it. But like, because, there isn't zombies trying to bite you. So it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. And actually, like, I think that is of note, because if you're someone like me, put off playing it because you're scared of zombies in a game, it's okay, there's no zombies, just weird rednecks. Just weird rednecks.
Fair
weird
enough.
oil slick black blob things that are, you know, they're creepy, but they're not zombies.
So it's a horror game for the zombie phobic, I guess, which is, you know, that is quite a unique thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, most video horrors do tend to involve zombies, don't they? Like, there's a lot of zombies.
Yes. So then, other than for the people who are zombie phobic but still want their horror game, who else do you recommend this to?
Listen, if you like survival horrors, you've probably already played this, to be fair. But I think if you're someone like me who enjoys a story-driven game. Like the story is okay. Like the conclusion, a bit like Insidious. The conclusion isn't amazing, but there is a nice story twist at some point. Like, and you get a bit of a like, oh, okay, moment that I think is worth enduring with, and it's really atmospheric. So I think, if you're someone who has never played any Resident Evil game, and you like sort of survival horror, you like something with a decent story, then I would recommend this to you. But what I would say is, like, if you want something really like amazing and slick and puzzly, and where the survival horror is really dependent on you working stuff out without it kind of being spoon-fed along the way, this isn't quite that game. It just it's so close to doing it, but it just doesn't. Like, as I said, the puzzles are just way too easy. So I mean, if you're interested by what I've said, then go play it. But
I am. I'd quite like to give it a go, to be honest.
It's also, the other thing I'd say is it's not long. Like, you probably do it in about 12 to 15 hours. So,
okay.
Yeah, so in that sense, yes, I would recommend it to people who are interested, because you'll know you'd know after an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Hour and a half, 2 hours, whether you're into it or not.
Yeah.
So I think it's not like taking on a 500-hour open world game.
Oh, God. Though I am looking forward to playing Dying Light 2. I'm sure I'll lose many evenings playing that. Cool then. Let's move on to our rating for the game then, Jem.
Contrary to all those reviews, I felt underwhelmed. So
really?
Yeah, like, it's not a bad game. It's a good game. There are things about it which are really excellent, which I've touched on. But ultimately, I felt quite deflated by the end of it. And
no, that's a shame.
Therefore, it is getting a 7 out of 10.
I mean, all right, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good review.
Fair.
It's a good game. This is a good rating. A 7 out of 10 is a good rating. I wouldn't rush out and play it again.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, I feel less passionate about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound good, and especially that it is a shorter game. I would like to, if I can, get a chance to actually play it.
Yeah, and bear in mind, some people have given it 4.5 out of 5 and 9 out of 10. So
exactly. But this is the thing with opinions.
This is the thing with opinions.
Unique to yourself. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely hated the Professor Layton game, but some people like that.
Exactly.
So they're clearly on drugs, but each to their own.
Each to their own. Exactly. Maybe had I not known the hype about the game, I might not have expected as much. Who knows? Everything is subjective, isn't it? So that was my opinion. So if you're the kind of gamer I am, where you like a good story, you like challenging puzzles, you like a lot of stealth and creeping around, maybe this game won't be for you, but also maybe it will be. So yeah, play it yourself. Let us know what you think.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well, I guess that brings us to the end. Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you so much, brother, as well. I feel like we need to do our best zombie impressions. You go first.
Brains. I don't know. Do they talk? Are these literate
it's up
zombies?
to you. There's many iterations of zombie.
Okay, I don't know. Probably, yeah. Let's do. It's Oh my God, Plants vs. Zombies, isn't it?
I love Plants vs. Zombies.
That one's quite good. Okay, yep. Your turn.
Here we go.
Oh, God. That just sounds like me after a Vindaloo, to be honest.
That's very good.
Yeah, well...
I mean, I was doing the arms, which you couldn't obviously see on the audio, but...
which is also me after a Vindaloo.
Stop eating interludes. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of My Turn Podcast. Send us your zombie impressions. Why not? If you could help us out by leaving us a wonderful 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you are listening to this podcast, it really helps independent podcasts like ourselves get seen and heard, and then we can recommend more games to you and do more silly impressions of zombies.
Definitely.
But thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Thank you. Bye.